I came back from vacation and literally read an article about Bitcoin, and I was like, wow, this is still here. At the time, it was trading at like, I don't know, $2,800 or $3,000 or something like that. And I was just like, I can't believe this is what they were talking about in the book. This exists today, right? And I'm like, I got to learn more. So I went down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and I read the white paper, didn't understand it. So I started Googling a whole bunch of things, trying to learn. And one thing led to another. I live in Rochester, New York, which is Western New York. I found a blockchain meetup group in Buffalo. And for an entire year, every Tuesday, I would drive to Buffalo for an 8 a.m. meeting with a bunch of just random people who are interested in the ecosystem. And I was kind of the old person in the room, and I'd take a notepad and I would listen to everything they're saying, and I'd go home and I'd Google it all. So one of those sessions, we were talking about mining. And so then I went down the mining rabbit hole and learned all about mining. And it became, well, you know how it is with this industry. Like once you start, it's hard to stop. And I've shared the story before, but my wife had, at that point in time, I'd been working for like 20 years. And she literally said, hey, just take the summer off and like, let's just enjoy the summer. And I literally sat at my computer for like 15 hours a day trying to find out anything and everything I could about this industry. And at the time, it was like the ICO craze, and there was all kinds, ETH was blowing up. So I spent a little time trading. Like I was like day trading, which is not, it's not who I am. I'm like, I hate this. I want to build something. Like I want to contribute. I really had this like deep desire to want to contribute to this ecosystem. And it's been 8 years and I can't imagine doing anything else.
And so I would say a few things on that. The first one is if you haven't been to a meetup, you need to go to one. They're a great way to meet your community. That's how I also learned. Like I was in high school in 2013 and 14 back then, and just going to meetups every single Thursday night at a bar, wasn't even able to drink yet, just sneaking into the meetup. And for a year, just talking to people, learning from all these different types of people, from people that are into the technology, people that are into the economics, people that are into the software side of things. So if you're a listener and you haven't been to a local meetup, do it. It'll change your life forever and help you understand Bitcoin farther.
Hey, JP, this group of people, and I'm still friends with many of them, just some of the smartest people I've ever run into. They were on the bleeding edge and they came from all walks of life. And it made it so interesting because some people were like hardcore technologists. Other people were like investors. People were like just speculators. Like they were just, and you get this mix of people in the room, and it really led to some amazing conversations. And it's been fun. It's part of my story. I would say I was like when I was in college, right? You were talking about you discovered Bitcoin when you were in high school. So when I was in college, the internet came out. Like the first browsers showed up in college. Not when I was in high school, literally when I'm in college. And when I distinctly remember the first time I used like Mosaic browser. And it was just one of these of like, wow, this changes everything. I don't forget, I was 19 or 20 or something like that. It just fundamentally changed the way I started thinking about the world, of what the possibilities were. And I was too chicken to move to Silicon Valley. You had to move to Silicon Valley to be part of that internet revolution, really, at the time. And I didn't want to move to California. So I went to GE instead. I went through their leadership program, and it was great. It was an amazing experience. And I met amazing people and lifelong friends, and it was probably the right thing for me. But when I learned about the idea of Bitcoin and this decentralization and this idea that anyone, anywhere in the world can participate, you don't need permission, and you can do it from any place, I was like instantly drawn to it. And I'm like, I'm not going to miss this technology wave.
Well, you weren't instantly drawn to it. You were thought about it, and then you said, I'm going to go back and research. What most people do. That's like normal, I feel like, for a lot of people.
You're exactly right. It's a journey, right? Like I love when I talk to people about crypto, and most of the time I avoid the subject, right? Because I just don't want to get into all of it. But sometimes I lean in, and I find it amazing how hard it is for somebody to buy. Like today, you buy Bitcoin, it's pretty easy. Back in the day, it was really hard. Like you were signing up on these like weird exchanges, and you're like, I don't know if I want to put money on it. Today, you can just open up Cash App and literally you can buy Bitcoin. Yeah. It's easier to buy Bitcoin than it is to go to Starbucks and buy coffee. Yeah, trying to get somebody to spend $20 to buy $20 worth of Bitcoin is the conversation, it's hilarious because you're like, they're like, I got to really think about this. I may need to ask permission. This is like a family decision. Like it's $20 worth of Bitcoin. It's mind blowing. But the fascinating thing is everybody who's actually made that, like, it's like stepping over the chasm, right? Like once they buy $20 worth of Bitcoin, they start researching it. They start reading about it. They start going down their own personal journey. And eventually, I don't know if I've met anybody who's gone down that journey and not arrived at the conclusion of, I don't own enough Bitcoin. So,
and it's amazing how everyone has the same journey, but I feel like there's always that blocker, like, I talked about it, I saw it, and then I was like, whoa, my eyes opened up, 14 hours on the computer. So let's jump into GE a little bit. What skills, leadership, training did you get from GE that you took to the Bitcoin mining space? Because you guys as Foundry, I mean, you're one of the largest private mining companies out here providing services to the space in a multitude of ways, and it's a lot of that's from your leadership.
Part of it's from my leadership. I think a bigger part is we have an amazing team at Foundry, right? So we were really able.
The culture starts with you, Mike.
Yeah. So, but the culture lives on with the team, right? And
100%.
It really, like, I love coming to work every day because of the people I work with. And everyone is like incredibly passionate about securing the Bitcoin network, and that makes it fun. In terms of GE, like I talked about missing the Silicon Valley kind of experience, and I went to GE, and quite frankly, it was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me. So I worked at GE during the Jack Welch years. So I don't know, your audience probably has to look up who Jack Welch is, but GE at the time was the most profitable, most admired, like it was the company of the 90s, really, the 80s and 90s. And Jack Welch was like a really innovative leader. So I came in, we built locomotives. I went to the transportation business. So we built locomotives, and I had to move to Erie, Pennsylvania, right? There's not a lot of people that want to move to Erie, Pennsylvania. I didn't want to move there, but I had to if I wanted to take this job. And GE brought in, like, every year they'd bring in 50 kids from college into their different divisions, and we were all thrown in and we had to compete against each other. And we were on a 6-month rotational program where every 6 months we changed jobs, and it was very aggressive. You had to work really hard. Like for me, I came in, I'm like, oh my God, these people are way smarter than me. I shouldn't be here. They have better credentials, whatever. And for me, I was like, I'm going to just have to outwork them, right? Like that was my only option, was like, I got to get here before they get here, and I got to stay late. And I did. I put in the energy and effort and learned just a tremendous amount of skills. I even carry the GE value card in my wallet to this day. I mean, that was 30 years ago. I still carry it with me because it was really.
And do some of those values show up in Foundry today?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like,
what are they for people who might not?
I used to always go back to. Now you were going to put me on the spot. I should get the card out. I should show you the card.
Go for it.
Like, who carries a wallet anymore, right?
It's a big crypto wallet.
I even have pictures of my kids when they were little in my wallet. But, you know, like the GE card, right? You probably look it up online. But these were like, you got to come to work with energy, personal energy, because you got to be able to deal with the pace of change of what's happening in the world. And then you have to be able to energize others. Right? So if you want to be a leader, you have to be able to get people excited about what you're trying to go accomplish and create this atmosphere that's invigorating. You got to have edge, where you got to be able to make the tough calls, make the tough decisions, and then you have to execute. At the end of the day, it's all about execution. And like those 4 E's kind of always stuck with me. And I don't use those 4 E's at Foundry, but we've kind of let that like bleed into kind of who we are. It is who I am. Like I found the company that matched who I was just naturally. And I guess that's why GE resonated. So met some amazing people, did some incredible things. It was a lot of fun. And from a Bitcoin mining perspective, and it's different today than what it was 8 years ago. Like there weren't a lot of, I would call, like people with a lot of professional experience coming into the Bitcoin mining world, right? It was a lot of speculators. It was a younger crowd speculating, just like the gold rush or the wildcatters in West Texas. Like, you're like, yeah, oh, there's gold there in them hills. I'm going to run out there and start digging, right? And that's what Bitcoin mining is, or was. It was like, I found cheap energy. I run. Like, how do we set up a mining facility?
No permits, nothing.
Nothing. Like, just, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. It's changed. Like today, now there's, 20 plus publicly traded mining companies. They're worth literally billions of dollars. And we're bringing it like just a lot of like amazing people are coming into the industry, which is fantastic. It's wonderful.
No, I love that, I guess. And let's talk through Foundry. So you joined them, and then what pivotal milestones occurred, and how did you, I guess, what did you come into, the Foundry you came into, and then what was the Foundry you are at today?
Well, the Foundry didn't really exist, right? So I'm employee number one. So as the story goes, I decided if I wanted to go all in on the space, talk to my wife, and she's like, go for it, which was super important for me to have that kind of support, because I literally was pivoting my 20 plus year career to go pursue this weird thing called Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. Like, what is that? And so I worked with a small company here locally, because I really thought Western New York should be like the mining capital of the world. We have a colder climate, right? We have tons of cheap electric hydropower. Really, the Buffalo Niagara region, to this day, I still am convinced it should be the mining capital of the world. Not West Texas, but here. Like, this is a very stable environment. Never did I imagine that New York State would do everything they possibly can to kill an industry, which still doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, I digress. So I'm in an organization called YPO, Young Presidents Organization. If you're running a company, it can be very lonely as the CEO of a business. So I think it's really important to build a network of people that are in a similar situation that you can trust and you can share. And there's organizations out there that kind of promote that. So YPO is one of them. EO is another one. Like, I highly recommend people joining EO. That's for like smaller businesses kind of getting off the ground. So I reached out to the YPO network, and I'm like, who else is crazy enough to be in Bitcoin mining? And found a few people. Turns out, like, the people that started Core, and today, like, I'd argue almost all, maybe not all, but the majority of the leaders of Bitcoin mining companies are actually YPO members, which is fascinating to me.
It's an interesting stat. I didn't know that.
And then I got a phone call that said there was a company that was interested in getting into Bitcoin mining. And I was at Core, and things were going really well. We were growing that business. They really wanted to go public at some point. And then I was like, I'm not that interested. But then they said it was DCG. And at the time I was like, wow, DCG wants to get into Bitcoin mining. Like, that really changes the game. So I flew down to New York, met with Barry. We hit it off. And Barry was basically like, here's a white sheet of paper, figure out what we can do to help build the mining ecosystem in North America. So he was seeing large inflows of capital from institutional investors into Bitcoin. China really dominated the Bitcoin mining ecosystem, right? They made the machines, they had most of the hash rate, they had the pools. So there was this worry that this would become a Chinese dominated token, or people wouldn't invest in Bitcoin because it was run by the Chinese. Barry's like, look, we have to get hash rate into North America. We have to balance this. And I want to figure out how we can help, go leverage the DCG balance sheet, its brand, its network, its connections. Here's a white sheet of paper. Tell me what we can do. And he said, we're going to call the company Foundry. So I was like, all right, that's the beginning of it. And,
so, Mike, you have the name, you have the white sheet of paper. What's on the paper? What did you put? How does this? Do you still have the original paper today? You want to pull it out of your wallet?
No, it's still blank. No, so we spent a couple months like brainstorming what to do. And for me, I was like, look, at the North American miners have built out the ecosystem, the infrastructure. This is October of 2019. So it was bear market, and it's a bear market. I didn't really experience the same bear market this time around. I think mostly because the public miners are able to print money from their ATMs. But back then, and you remember, you were around, like October of 2019, we weren't sure anyone was going to make it. Like, it was brutal. It was ugly.
It was a long bear market. I remember that.
And the halving was right around the corner. And it was just like, this is not going to end well. So everyone was cash poor, but they had rack space.